Hey, this is David and Susan, and we're going to do a brief video here on wood moisture. What we've got here is bur oak that's been standing dead for about 2 years, and this summer this tree tipped over. It was standing vertical. This summer it tipped over, and what happens when they tip over is your sapwood is getting rotten, and it starts acting like a sponge. And if the tree's vertical, rain runs right down the tree. But once it gets, this was over about a 30-degree angle like that, and what happens is this stuff acts like a sponge, and it catches rain and it holds it on your wood. So this tree ought to be fairly dry. And next to it here I've got some black locust. This tree's been standing dead for a little over a year, and it was still vertical. So what we're going to do is I'm going to fire up the splitter. We'll split some of these pieces and check them for moisture. Got a moisture meter here that Susan can zoom in on, and we'll check this. You check this bur oak, then we'll check that. If we want to have this wood down under 20% so it burns well. If it's up around 25, 30. We can stack it under the eave, and wood dries pretty fast under the eave here because it gets good air circulation if we split it down small. So I'm going to fire up the splitter here, and we'll bust these and see how they look. Okay, now Susan can zoom in here. Look at there, we got a nice bunch of little ants in there. We'll check the moisture on this. Put on my reading glasses. This moisture meter has been a real handy tool. Susan got it several years ago, and we use it regularly. Right, can you zoom in there good, Susan? Or do I need to get closer? You see it? I'm getting 15% moisture.
I see 8.
And this piece, 16%. That wood you can burn right now. So that is good. That's the dead standing black locust. It was standing vertical. And here we have bur oak that got almost horizontal. And when I check it, it's right at 30%. That's too wet to put in the stove. 30%. So that'll have to sit outside under the eave and dry down at least to 20 before we can use that. And check the sapwood. Sapwood's reading 21%. So the sapwood, you know, soaked up all that rain we had, and it's already dried out because it's partially rotted. But the wood inside is still really damp. We'll check another piece here. There, 29%. But that's not far off. If it sits under the eave, what we've figured out is this can sit out here about a month, and it'll be dry enough to burn then. So, and the type of wood you have makes a big difference on how fast it dries. Bur oak is a little different than your other white oaks. It doesn't seal its wood up like white oak does. It will dry faster than regular white oak. And on your oaks, I don't know, can you see your growth rings, Susan? Probably not. This has wide growth rings. It grew fast. And oaks with wide growth rings dry slower than oaks with narrow growth rings, because with narrow growth rings you have a higher percentage of spring wood that has large pores that lets air in and out of the wood. So anyway, so we'll split this, put it under the eave, and we'll come back in a month and check these again. We'll split them today, stack them under the eave, and come back and check them. I'll mark it on the calendar, and we'll give you an update in a month and see how these are doing on drying out here. You know, they've got cover over them and good air circulation around them. So that's our update for today. And if you can spin that camera around, Susan, you can show them this little pile of wood we got in the back of the machine. This was a tree I busted up yesterday. And you can see sapwood can go downhill pretty fast. This is your heartwood here. It's hard. Sapwood's punky as can be, but when a tree gets horizontal in the woods, this sapwood acts like a sponge, captures water, and it holds it on that tree. A horizontal tree in the woods will not dry. We've checked that many times over the years. If they stand vertical, they'll dry down pretty good, but if they're horizontal, they stay wet. Okay, thank you very much, and we will update this little story in a month.